They kept trimming my trees without asking, so I trimmed their property value. I had 6 oak trees along my property line, old trees, mature, thick canopies that shaded half my backyard every summer. In March, the house next door sold. A new family moved in, husband, wife, 2 kids. By April, I noticed something wrong. Several branches on my oak trees had been cut, clean cuts, not storm damage. Someone had trimmed them deliberately, and not just on their side of the line, on mine. I walked the fence. At least a dozen branches were gone. Some were thick, chainsaw thick. I knocked on their door. The husband answered. His name was Tyler. I asked if he cut branches off my trees. He said yes, said they were hanging over his yard and blocking sunlight. I told him they were my trees and he couldn't just cut them. He said anything crossing the property line was fair game. I explained that while he could trim branches on his side, he cut branches on my side.
He shrugged and said, "It's the same tree. What's the difference?" I told him the difference was that he damaged my property without permission. He said, "They're just trees. They'll grow back." Then he closed the door. I called an arborist the next day. He inspected the trees and shook his head. The cuts were poorly done and too close to the trunk. No concern for tree health. He said it could lead to disease or decay. He estimated about $2,500 in potential damage if treatment was needed or if a tree died. I sent Tyler a letter explaining the damage, included the arborist report, and asked him to cover the treatment costs and stop touching my trees. No response. 2 weeks later, I woke up to the sound of a chainsaw. This time he'd gone further. He topped one of the trees, completely ruined its shape. The arborist later told me topping is one of the worst things you can do. It stresses the tree and makes it vulnerable to disease. That tree might not survive. I stopped being polite.
I looked Tyler up online, found his LinkedIn. He worked in real estate development. His profile mentioned this house was an investment, a flip, renovate and sell within a year. So I started researching what could hurt property value. First, I filed a complaint with the city about the tree damage. I submitted photos, the arborist report, and proof the trees were on my property. Code enforcement showed up. Turns out in my city, trees over a certain size are protected. You need a permit to trim or remove them even on your own land. Tyler had no permit. He got fined $1,500. Then I dug deeper. I pulled property records and discovered the previous owner had done unpermitted work. A deck, a finished basement, none of it approved. Tyler's purchase listing had advertised both his features. I reported that too. A building inspector came out, found multiple violations, unpermitted electrical and plumbing work. The deck wasn't up to code. Basement windows didn't meet egress requirements. Before Tyler could sell, everything had to be fixed. That meant tearing out the deck, rebuilding it, redoing wiring and plumbing, and enlarging windows. Tens of thousands of dollars. I still wasn't done. I filed a small claims lawsuit for the tree damage, asked for the maximum, $10,000. I brought photos, reports, and documentation. The judge ruled in my favor, awarded me $7,500. By the time it was over, Tyler had spent over $40,000 fixing violations, ad fines, and the lawsuit. He listed the house in November. He sold it for barely more than he paid. If you enjoyed this story, hit like, subscribe.